We are here talking today about taking action to fight diabetes, and our guest is Dr. Nicole Nance from Eskenazi Health. Dr. Nance, welcome to Sister. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. It's always good to talk with a professional, a healthcare professional, especially when we're talking about things that a lot of people just kind of toss around on the regular. And when I say that, I'm talking about, we're talking about diabetes. And people have been talking about, I remember growing up and hearing some of my family members, well, what's your sugar? They called it the sugar, or what's your sugar today, or what's this, or what's that, even before I knew diabetes. And that was a whole long time ago. But it's ingrained in our society, so to speak, but I don't know that enough people understand exactly what it is and what we need to do about it, especially we as women. So to kind of kick things off, can we start from from square one? What exactly is diabetes?
Sure. So there are two different main types of diabetes. There is type 1. And type 1 is where your body, your pancreas specifically, just does not make enough insulin. A lot of times that's the one that children get, although not always, and adults can get it as well. If you have type 1 and your body just does not produce the insulin, then you will have to take insulin from the beginning. And the medications, the pills that you can take by mouth are not an option. Type 2 diabetes is where your body does make the insulin, but the rest of the cells in your body just don't recognize it. It's called insulin resistance. So the insulin is there, but your body is unable to figure out how to use up the insulin to help, and that causes your blood sugars to go up. For people like that, actually lifestyle modification, so exercise, healthy diet, weight loss makes a huge difference. With type 2, you can also take pills to help with treatment, and they don't necessarily need insulin, although some eventually do need insulin in the future, the longer they have it. There's also something called gestational diabetes, which is women who are pregnant who get diabetes. They may not have diabetes before. They're at higher risk for having diabetes after they deliver, but not necessarily.
Okay, so which one is the most common? What's the one that more Americans have?
Type 2 would be the most common.
Type 2 is the most common. And we're talking about women. Does diabetes typically or tend to affect more women or men, or is it an equal number?
I believe it's an equal number, but I'm not positive.
Yeah. It's because it's hard to tell. A lot of diseases tend to affect more women than men, and vice versa, more men than women. And I've never heard that about diabetes. I've never heard whether it tends to affect one sex more than the other.
Not that I know of, although it's also hard because a lot of people don't know that they have it.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Well, I just find it on routine screening. So I think it'd be hard to know for sure.
Why do most people not know that they have it? And then what are some of the warning signs that you may have diabetes?
So some people just don't have symptoms, but people who feel thirsty all the time, or they say, I have to urinate more often. People can also just complain of fatigue. They feel more tired because they're losing all their glucose, which is their energy, through their urine. So those are the big signs, but many have no signs. We just pick it up when we're doing routine screening, when they come to appointments at the clinic.
Okay. The number, you say type 2 is more common. The number of Americans with diabetes, and the reason that several years ago, these huge pharmaceutical companies sounded an alert regarding children and type 2 diabetes, and the incredible rise or possible rise of children with diabetes. Can you put all that together for us?
So it is concerning how many children are now having type 2 diabetes. I think the increase in obesity rates are really contributing to that. We're seeing it, more in adults too. It is something that some people can prevent if they do healthy lifestyle modification. So we try to screen some kids earlier, so we can say, all right, if you start working on a healthy diet, having a healthy weight, and exercising at least 30 minutes every day, then hopefully you can prevent the development of diabetes.
Pizza and McDonald's with the kids. You're shaking your head now. Because these are pizza, McDonald's, hot dogs, those are the, okay, go ahead. I'll let you.
So yes, it's okay to have fast food and pizza sometimes, but really eating a well-balanced diet, including fruits, vegetables, high-grain foods, is much healthier, and they can prevent diabetes in the future. I also think that the importance of exercise is undervalued in many people as well. Being active, and I realize during the pandemic, this has been even harder for everyone just because people are working from home, sitting more at their computers, even the kids are as well during virtual learning. But being more active can make a huge difference as well.
Yeah, and so our society as a whole, I mean, we're a rapid paced society. We depend a lot on fast food. A lot of the parents, because they might be going from a soccer game to a parent meeting to this and to that, and just the traditional, or what we deemed as traditional, coming home at 4 or 5 o'clock, sitting down around the dinner table, eating a healthy home cooked meal, seems to be disappearing more and more, and fast food seems to be more of the choice. What can parents do, especially women who tend to take more care of the children than the men? What can we do, even if we do have to rely on this fast food society in which we live to get through the day with the kids? What can we do when we don't have the option of sitting at home and preparing a meal?
So I think packing food from your home.
That's a good
available is a great idea. My personal children eat a lot of packed meals because essentially anything in your home is going to be healthier than McDonald's. I also think you can plan ahead and have meals either frozen or in a crock pot so that as soon as everyone does get home, they can eat that, which is more nutritious. So I think if you plan ahead some and pack meals, that can make a big difference.
Yeah. Is diet, back to diabetes and exactly what it is. It can be a terribly debilitating disease if unchecked or just, it's allowed to get out of control. Is there a cure for diabetes? Is it curable or is it not?
We can treat it, but it's not curable. So yes, it has significant serious consequences if it goes untreated. People can have kidney damage, in fact, have kidney failure and need dialysis. It can lead to blindness. It puts you at increased risk for heart attacks, strokes. So people can die of diabetes. Although it is not completely curable, there is something called diet controlled, where people have diabetes, but if they eat healthy, exercise regularly, and maintain a healthy weight, they will not need to take any medications and keep their blood sugars in check just with healthy lifestyle changes.
So it's considered a chronic condition?
Yes, it is a chronic lifelong condition.
Yeah, but it can be ugly once if out of control, wildly out of control, because people with diabetes have amputations. You just hear so many different things and related. Oh, that was their diabetes. That was related to their diabetes. I mean, it's really important that we work with this thing and not develop it to the point where there are amputations, to the point where there is dialysis.
You're right, because it is treatable. And we have multiple options to treat it, and we can prevent all of these long-term complications.
What about circulation and circulatory things pertaining to diabetes?
Yes. So with heart attack, stroke, having circulation problems, needing legs amputated, that's also an increased risk. But once again, if you have better control of your blood sugar, we can hopefully help prevent those complications.
So is there a difference in the approach that you take if you have type 1 diabetes as opposed to type 2? And even gestational, or is it all the approach to all of these the same?
So it's different. If you have type 1, you have to take insulin. There is no choice. You will take insulin for life because your body just does not make it. For type 2, there are varying degrees. Some people, we can say, work on healthy lifestyle modifications with diet, exercise, weight loss, and they may not need to take medicines and be diet controlled. Some people will need to take pills, but then they can be controlled with pills. And some people will need to take insulin even if they have type 2.
Mhm. I was reading here where it says in the last 20 years, the number of adults diagnosed with diabetes has more than doubled.
Yes.
Why is that?
I think it's because a lot of lifestyle changes. People are more sedentary. They're not as active. We are eating more fast food. People aren't cooking at home. I think those all lead, it just makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing that I was reading, which pertains to what we're talking about a lot, and it says African American adults are 60% more likely than non-Hispanic white adults to be diagnosed with diabetes by a physician. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because that is concerning as well.
Yes, it is concerning. There is also, a genetic component to this as well.
Oh, okay.
And so, yes, it is concerning. And anyone who has a family history really should get screened for it when they're younger, just to see if they have it or if they're getting close to having it. There is something called pre-diabetes, which means you don't actually have diabetes, but your blood sugars are running higher than what we like.
Mm-hmm.
If you are at that pre-diabetes change with lifestyle modification, again, the healthy diet, exercise, weight loss, you can ideally prevent the development of diabetes, hopefully forever, or at least for a period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I was diagnosed pre-diabetes years ago, several years ago, and get regular checkups and things of that nature. And there were medications that have been basically cut in half to almost like a fourth of what I'm supposed to take because of some of the changes. But so does it mean that at any point in time it could turn to diabetes, or just like you said, you just said pre-diabetes for life, which I did not know?
Yes, even if the number goes down to better, I always want to monitor patients who have had pre-diabetes before.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it can turn to diabetes, and sometimes even if someone does everything right, they can
that's what I was thinking.
Turn to diabetes. So I always recommend try to do everything you can to prevent it for as long as you can. But then some of it is genetics. You will eventually have diabetes for certain.
And that's what African Americans, I guess, according to this figure, need to be aware of, is that there could be a genetic component there, that no matter what you do and how much you do right, you could still develop type 2. So is there ever, you say with type 2, if I understand it, there's never, or the situation where you have to, do type 2 diabetics have to take insulin?
Sometimes.
Most
of the time, many people, we can start on pills first, but some people, as it gets worse, will need insulin. And some people at type 2, if they come to us with elevated enough blood sugars, we will have to start on insulin from the beginning.
Yeah. So what can we say to African Americans about this whole picture of diabetes, especially our African American females, our African American women?
So the pediatrician in me likes to say, starting young, eating healthy, really introduce fresh fruits, vegetables, making sure the whole family stays active. And then if you have a higher risk or family history, it's good to get it checked, have a screening test. I always think it's better to know, even if you don't have diabetes, but if you're pre-diabetic, it's better to know and start being more proactive about lifestyle changes to hopefully prevent diabetes in the future.
So at what age or when should someone with a family history of diabetes start getting checked for it or get screened for it? 10, 15, age 10, age 15? What age should we start making sure that we're screened and that we're okay?
So as an adult, I think if you have a strong family history, getting screened at 18 is a good choice. Some kids, if they have a very elevated BMI and have a family history, then sometimes the pediatrician will decide to screen earlier.
Are there any signs or indicators in society? Because like I was saying, in the last 20 years, the number of adults diagnosed has more than doubled. Is there any indication that there's going to be a change in that trend, like for the next 20 years? I mean, this is an unsustainable trend, I would think.
I agree. I have not seen that the trend is improving. I really think as a society, we just need to focus on better nutrition and being more active. And I think that will help the most.
So, access to healthcare. How do we, again, I've asked this in a couple of other a couple of other seminars that we've had. How is access to healthcare impacting those who are being diagnosed? Is it impacting it at all? I don't know. I'm not sure.
So, yes, because that's why I said I worry about the numbers being actually higher than are reported. People who don't have access to healthcare may have diabetes and we just don't know about it. And it's causing damage to their kidneys, their heart, and we just are unaware of it. Having access to a primary care doctor and healthcare is very important because then we can screen, we can do some of these preventive things to hopefully prevent diabetes or treat it once it is available.
There was a time back in the day, I guess, when diabetes was a death sentence. Is that correct? If I understand my history correctly?
Yes.
What wasn't understood about it?
Well, insulin was developed. Obviously, that was a problem. We just have better medications now that we can get the blood sugars better controlled more quickly. So I think that's what's helping. But if you don't know that you have it, then we can't treat it. So if you aren't getting in to be screened and diagnosed, then you'll have complications because we can't treat something if we don't know it exists.
Yeah. And the exercise, I want to get back to that because how much exercise is good for those who are diabetic and those who are maybe pre-diabetic and those who don't want to develop pre-diabetes or diabetes? What's the amount of exercise and what types of exercises are recommended? What do you think?
So they recommend at least 30 minutes a day, most days of the week. Different exercises are fine. There's nothing specific. I always encourage people to do something they enjoy that they think they'll actually be able to continue. So going for a 30-minute walk after dinner is a good choice. People can run or bike. They could do water aerobics. Some people like to do strength training. It doesn't matter the type of exercise. It's more just getting the habit of regularly exercising and just being more active in life in general. So if you are in the office, every hour getting up and walking around for 5 minutes, just so you're not sitting all day, actually that helps. Your exercise doesn't have to be in a 30-minute block at once too. You can do it at 3 10-minute segments or 2 15-minute segments, different times throughout the day. So there's no specific type of exercise. People just need to be more active in general will help.
As parents of children, what can we as mothers look for in our children to make sure that they stay as healthy as possible? And how, when we talk about obesity in children, other than the just obvious where, you have a child that is just, what are the signs that a child might be approaching an obese level or an obese state? And what can parents do, mothers, fathers, what can we do to kind of take things the other way or help move things in another direction? Because the other question I have about that is how much do genetics play? Because obviously you can look on a playground and see that some kids are bigger than others. But does that necessarily mean that some kids are more obese than others? I don't know. So I can just see how parents, especially mothers of young children, might be confused with all of this. So can you give us some guidance on that?
Sure. So for kids, we check their body mass index, which is based on their weight, their height, and their age. But I don't like to get focused on particular numbers so much because kids are different. And if, 2 10-year-olds, if they're very different heights, could be very different weights. There's a genetic factor. What I think parents can do the most is to set good habits so their children can model. So if the parents eat well and eat diet, including fresh fruits and vegetables and limiting fast food, and if the parents are active and do active things with their family and their children, that will set a good example that they can model for their children, which will hopefully continue as well. They've actually studies have shown that people, even if you don't lose weight, if you exercise, you're actually just healthier. And I've had people who, even if their weight doesn't change specifically the number on the scale, if they make these healthy lifestyle changes, their blood sugars will decrease.
Really?
Yes.
Well, without any intervention whatsoever?
No, if they eat better and they exercise, even if their actual weight, the number does not change, they can still be healthier.
Yeah. And for women who we know our weights, we tend to pay a lot. I don't know. I know men, but this is sister to sister. Okay. So we're talking about women with our weights. What's your best advice there? Because, Anyway, go ahead. I'll let you talk because I've got 1,000 questions in that area.
So I always say, don't get focused on a number.
And get focused on, okay.
Because I don't think that's helpful and that's hard. I think if you try to make small changes, eat healthier, exercise regular, it makes a difference. The other thing too is when people start exercising, muscle weighs more than fat. So sometimes the weight won't change, but they'll notice that their clothes are bigger than they were because they're actually losing inches. Mm-hmm. That's another reason why I say I'd rather focus on the lifestyle and the eating healthy and exercise than the actual number on the scale, because I think that's more important for overall health.
Yeah. But so if you see that, okay, so pay more attention to how your clothes fit, I guess. And if you're having a sustained diet and exercise regimen, if we as women are having a sustained diet and you're in a better place there than you are not eating the wrong thing and checking your weight every day. Is that what you're saying?
So, I mean, the goal would be have, a BMI, 25 or less.
Body mass index.
Calculate that. There are multiple calculators. You check your weight and your height. So it is healthier to have a goal weight. But when people are making changes, I just want them to focus on eating better and exercising regularly and not getting too focused on the number, because people can kind of obsess and get crazy over or just stress out about the actual number. And I really want just more healthy diet, regular exercise. I think that's more important. And then just watch the weight loss. I don't think weighing yourself every day is a good choice because our weight does fluctuate some. That just gets frustrating. So it is ideal to have a healthy body weight. But I think the way to go about that is to make small changes and start eating healthier, and then getting regular exercise.
Okay. So I like that. And I like the idea that pay attention to my clothes and not what the scale says, because I'm going to do that. Or else I'll just buy bigger clothes. No, I'm not going to buy bigger clothes. Although I've heard some people tell me that, oh, you look good. I'm buying bigger clothes. But no, seriously, speaking though, so what you're saying is healthy lifestyle, healthy food, healthy habits. At what point is it okay to have a non-health? I mean, is there something that we can do in the balance with our children, with ourselves, and with our family that allows for maybe an unhealthy day or something? What do you say? Once a month, once every 2 or 3 months, or is there something that you can even work in maybe not a cheat day, but a fun day into the balance? Is that okay to do?
So absolutely. And I think you should have treats. And I think part of it for kids is teaching everything's in moderation. So you can have unhealthy food sometimes, but you just have to have the healthy foods as well. If you try to deprive yourself from your favorite food all the time, that's unsustainable and miserable. It's better to just say, I can have some of the things that I like that are unhealthy, as long as I eat other healthy foods and it's all balanced and in moderation. So I think it's important to treat yourself sometimes and teach the kids you can have special treats, but not every day.
Mm-hmm. So balance and moderation. Would balance be like once a month? It wouldn't be as much as once a week, though, would it? Balance and moderation. I could see maybe. I don't know, but then again, you're the physician, so you tell me.
If people had fast food once a week, I think that's okay.
Really?
It's 5 times a week that it is. So yes.
That gets us in trouble. Okay, so we are approaching one of the biggest eating days of the year, because it's all about eating and Thanksgiving. And a lot of us, a lot of the sister to sister sisterhood, we typically prepare all the meals, although the guys are in there helping sometimes too. So what do you say about preparing a feast like a Thanksgiving Day meal? Do you throw everything out the window, or do you subtly put some things in there? How do you approach something like that, especially if maybe you have diabetes or you have a number of family members who are diabetic? I mean, what do you do? What's the best approach there?
If you have diabetes, it kind of depends on what medications you take and how the degree of your diabetes. If you do not have diabetes, I think on Thanksgiving, it's one day a year you should eat what you want.
Really? So you don't try to sneak any of the healthier stuff. I always offer the healthier things just because there might be some people that want to eat healthier than not. But what you're saying is just go for it and put it all out there, huh?
If you don't have diabetes, I think if it's one day a year, I think that's fine.
Yeah. If you don't have it.
Right. If you do, it depends. You'd have to talk to your doctor about, because it just depends on the degree of diabetes and just the treatment options, what would be okay for you. But I think for people who don't have diabetes, it's one day a year. They should eat what they want on Thanksgiving.
People who do not have diabetes, you've been very clear about that. If you do not have diabetes, it's the one day a year you can eat what you want. If you do have diabetes, you should check with your doctor to make sure what is and isn't acceptable on the menu.
Right.
Okay, if you are being conscious, if you are the host and you're cooking and you're trying, so you should do both. It would be a good idea to offer both because you're probably going to have diabetic and non-diabetic people there. What do you think? Both?
I mean,
options?
That would be nice to have healthy options.
Yeah. I think it would be great. So portion and food control. How important is that in treating your own in your diabetes journey? If you're diabetic and you've got it under control, or you're pre-diabetic and you've got it under control. I've heard a lot about a lot of things that contribute to diabetes is how much, because your system has to process. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
You're right. So portion control can make a big difference.
Okay.
If you just don't eat as much, it's obviously less calories, less sugar going in. Portion control also affects how earlier we talked about it's okay to have special treats sometimes, and learning to eat in moderation is good. Portion control kind of goes with that too. So if you don't have 2 servings of mashed potatoes, just a smaller one serving, I'd much prefer that. And that can make a big difference in your health. So I think portion control is really important. And some people use smaller plates or do different things to help them just eat a smaller amount of each thing that they eat.
Yeah, there was this thing on TV called the 21-day fix or whatever, where they have you ever seen that? They send you a number of containers, and each container is a portion controlled container because it has your carbohydrates, it has your proteins, and then it has, your vegetables and all kinds of things, and it's kind of graduated. And you fill up these containers for each meal, and it supposedly balances your portion control. You never heard of that one?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. And it was supposed to be, it's kind of interesting because it was supposed to be just for general, weight maintenance or weight loss. And then a lot of people, from what I understand and what I was reading, who are diabetic or pre-diabetic, found that, this works for me. I'm not trying to lose weight, but this helps me control the amount of carbs that I eat per meal, the amount of proteins that I eat, and what have you. So that, that's, I don't know if they still have the commercials for that on. I don't know. It's called the 21-day fix. You can Google that and see.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's the idea of having something concrete that shows you exactly how much a portion size should be.
Yeah.
Because many times our portions, which we think is one portion, is actually much bigger than what it should be. So right. I love the idea of having, all right, it fits in this bowl, this is how much I should eat. I think that would simplify things, and it's a great idea.
Yeah, there's a diabetes conference that I often help out with, and emceeing and do whatever. And they have these portion control plates that they give out to all of the people who attend. And it's the same concept, but it's just not marketed. But I think it's pretty neat too. And on these plates, it's a real plate. And you know how some plates are, just divided into three, 4, whatever. Well, these plates that we give out, or that they give out at the diabetes conference, are different sized compartments. And underneath it tells you, it's the same idea, but it's, with the plate. And they give them to attendees. And I think that's pretty neat too as well, because it helps keep track. And then you get a visual right. Of what it's supposed to look like in terms of a portion, and, for 3 minutes. What about how often you should eat? Because we hear that diabetics should eat more than 3 meals a day, but what is it, 3 to 5 smaller meals a day? What is the thinking on that?
So I do think it's healthier to eat more frequent regular meals. I think for most people, 3 meals a day is fine. I would prefer that over skipping breakfast and lunch and then eating a really large dinner. I think it is healthier to eat smaller meals, but more frequently. And it also depends for people who have diabetes. Some people eat 3 meals a day are fine. Some people who are insulin do need snacks at different times. So that depends on what medications. But I think eating more frequent, smaller meals is definitely healthier. And I think 3 meals a day plus minus a snack, depending on the person, is a better choice than skipping meals and eating one big meal.
Yeah. And finally, well, as we're wrapping up, because I know you have to go, you're a doctor, so you have a lot of things you have to do. But I could keep asking questions, and I apologize, I'm asking so many. But the cost of being diabetic, it's not cheap. You hear about insulin care and things of that nature. Is there anything that we can share with people who might be watching about how they can help control the cost or get better cost efficient options? Anything that you know of, or just continue to keep on the lookout for?
Well, the cheapest thing would be to do the healthy diet, exercise, maintain the healthy weight, and prevent ever needing medication. If people do need medications, there are different programs that people can do to get them. Insulin is not cheap. You are correct. The goal would be to prevent anyone from even needing that. But it depends a lot on people's insurance and what is covered, which is the most affordable option for them. There are programs out to help people if needed. But again, if we could prevent it from developing, that's the cheapest and healthiest option that we have.
I love that. Prevention is the best option. And diabetes is one of those diseases where prevention really does go a long way. It really does. Yeah. And so, and there's so many options out there. I think I'm not doing an advertisement for them, but I think there's even a gym out there that allows people to join in a membership for less than $10 a month. Which that's certainly affordable in a lot of arenas. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you or find out more, Dr. Nance, where should they go, or do you have a website, information? What can they do?
At Eskenazi Health, I think there's information there that they can get in touch with. If they want to see me, they just call for an appointment. But on the Eskenazi Health website, they would have the most information.
And that's eskenazihealth.edu?
Yes.
eskenazihealth.edu it is. All righty. Thank you very much, Dr. Nicole Nance. We have learned a lot about diabetes, pre-diabetes, and treatment. And I think what you said is absolutely great. Prevention. And we're going to do our best. I know everyone watching is going to do their best. And again, we want to remind our audience that November is American Diabetes Month, right?
Yes.
So we are early in the month, American Diabetes Month. Find out all you can, do all you can to help prevent diabetes, and let's all stay healthy and stay away from diabetes if at all possible.
Yes.
Indeed. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Nicole Nance.